What's up, everybody? Well, I got a little bit different gameplay video for you guys today. And today, we're going to verse my old main PC, which is now my TV PC, against my new main PC. Now, obviously, the new main PC is gonna win, but I'm curious by how much, because it's not like this thing's a slouch, and it's basically the same as it was. There's just three main components that have changed. One, quite obviously, the case. Now it actually has airflow for the GPU, even though obviously the CPU has lost quite a bit of cooling potential. However, thought I smelled smoke, and bowl was still going. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, the components. So obviously the case has changed, so now it gets good airflow for everything, so that's at least nice. And the GPU, it gets way chillier, as you will see when we start playing games. That thing used to get almost up to 80. In fact, I think it did get up to 80 a couple times in games. Now it struggles to get above 70 in most games. I think the hottest I've seen it was like 72 or something like that. So we'll see what it does this time around. And then, once we're done running all these games, I think there's 36, I believe. 36, could be 37, maybe 35, but somewhere around there. So that's how many games we're doing. So this is gonna be a long one, but we're still gonna get shit done. Even if it's like a 2-hour video, I think it'll be fun. So let's go hop on into the first game and go from there. And then halfway through, we'll switch over to the new main PC and see what it can do. So let's waste no more time and let's get into some game. All right, well, here we go. This is the settings we are going to go with for this particular game. All right, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna put everything to ultra, which I thought I already did this. And it doesn't look like there's a set thing, so I don't know why it didn't stick. So I'm gonna come back after I'm done recording this and make sure everything is what it should be. I thought I turned those depth of field and motion blur off too. So yeah, definitely gonna come back and make sure shit isn't getting fucked with. See, look, depth of field went back. Glad I noticed. All right, now for our little teeny bit of gameplay here.
It's going to be all right.
Okay, they're not gonna let me really explore at this point. At this point, I think, I can't remember, I think it's pretty much at the end of the game. But I did beat this one a long time ago, so. Of course, they're not gonna really let me explore. I should have made a new game. But then I couldn't remember where they started either. I didn't want to start off like in a cave or at night or something, so. As far as looks go, this still looks really nice. It's not the best-looking game known to man anymore, but it still looks more than adequate to me. And it's got pretty minimal stutter compared to a lot of the games out there that are DX12. But as you can see, it's not stutter-free, and it's not staying above 60 either all the time. But like I should say, none of these settings I'm using are what I would recommend people run. I'm just trying to push these things to the max, like someone would probably do if they had these, you know?
They didn't use
Me, I just tinker till I get a good-looking game that gets me great frame rates. And with a system like this, you can really force it. Settings for Alan Wake 2 now. I did put render resolution to performance because we're using all sorts of stuff. Ray tracing stuff that I probably would not turn on. But they do look all pretty nice in this game. But not nice enough to get under 60 FPS. But in any case, let's hop into the game. Well, now here we go. We're getting like a little bit under 60, down at 54, 53. So, all right, so the 5090 did get quite a bit more FPS than this thing. For some reason, I thought it only was getting like 5 or 6 FPS more, but it was getting quite a bit more. Still barely able to stay over 60, though. I think it even might have dropped under 60 once or twice. But I don't think it would have if we weren't recording, you know? Yeah, we're dropping all the way down to 52 and stuff here. Okay. Glad I went back and looked here since I'm doing the recordings. Now, I will say, the frame time seems slightly better on this system. But the AMD had frickin' Afterburner on because I can't find any other program that works better. So some of the stutters you see in games on that system could be from MSI Afterburner, which I turn completely off when I'm gaming. Now I use the Asus thing for all the overclocking and stuff, even though I'm not doing overclocking and stuff. But that's what I'm going to use. I just have it on so I can get you guys the data, and then it gets frickin' exited, so it can't fuck with my shit. Because I know if it adds stutters, it probably adds stutters if it's just sitting down there, even if you don't have your GUI menu up, you know? So I figured just get rid of it when you're not using it. What, you know, no point in having it there screwing with
The
your
facts are
shit,
on
right?
board. Everything we know about the previous murders. Worth taking another look.
I see you're already hard at work, Anderson. Close to cracking it?
We're just getting started. Let's head down the hill to the crime scene. Hey, Casey. You putting me in charge. Why now?
Yeah. Now, see, a lot of people probably wouldn't even care about getting under 60 in a game where you're just slowly walking or slowly jogging around, you know? But me, I just like my 60 FPS, especially on
thinking of
systems
retiring?
as powerful as this. All right, here's the settings for Assassin's Creed Shadows now. All right, now we can go over to the scalability. And I'm pretty sure I got everything as high as it'll go here, but it could be one of those games that's got hidden settings if you go to config files. I didn't bother with any of that. But anyway, to the game. All right, here we go. Let's go run around a little bit. Now, I don't know if this is it's probably not the hardest place to run in the game by any means, but it's definitely not the easiest either. And it's one of the few places where ray tracing is forced no matter what you do. But I kind of wanted ray tracing anyway, so I figured screw it. Let's get some gameplay here. Or at least a lot of this game still looks rather nice. I still don't think it looks nice enough for 70 FPS, which I think I also have DLSS on quality. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I've done with this game. But hey, you saw the settings before. Those are the settings I went with. Alright, let's go up here and stop. I wish I could get more gameplay for each game, but even with this, it's going to be a really long one, I think. Here we go with Avatar. Alright, now let's go have a look at the graphics here. Now, I know there's a way to get even higher graphic settings than this, but I figured I'd do this in a way most people would, which is just click play on the game. But there are higher graphic settings than this in this game. Here we are in the game. And it does a pretty dang good job with FPS.
Is something wrong?
Obviously, it has help, but I don't think it dropped under 60 too often, if at all. Oh, I thought I could make it up there, but apparently not. Alright, can I make it over there? Yes. Even though this game's a little old now, it still looks pretty nice.
Intriguing. Did they say anything else?
No. In typical Kametire style, never wants to embellish.
Alright, can I like Skyrim my way down here? Hell yes I can. Although I've died doing that in this game so many times. Alright, now see, that looks like a waterfall. Like, Assassin's Creed Shadows did a great job with water right up until it's like a waterfall or like fast moving, where it would be aerated, and then it just looks like it's made out of paper to me. I don't know, at least the rest of the game looks really nice, for the most part. But what sees me? I don't see anything. Can I jump on this, or am I gonna fall through it? Hell yeah, no. A lot of games, you know, you jump on stuff like this, and then you just fall through it or something. So it's kind of nice to have a game where that's not the case. Anyway, though, let's move on to the next game. All right, here we go with Avowed Settings. Now, I already remember I got myself into an area I should not be in because I am nowhere near powerful enough to. So do not be surprised if I run into creatures I instantly die. Because it's already happened quite a bit when I was actually playing for real. But anyway, let's get into the game. Alright, here we are in the game. I'm out of mana, pretty much. That's not cool. Oh, great, and the water will electrocute me if I go through it. That's nice. Now, normally I would just, you know, make a frozen thing to jump on, but yeah, I can't, like, use very many of my abilities, and I don't think any of them have that ability, so... What am I going to do about this? Yeah, didn't think so. Can't do it. Alright, I'm just going to have to jump and hope I don't die. Alright, cool. Jump on the giant mushroom. Oh! Well, that looks frosty. Hey! Oh, get up there, get up there. Here we go. Alright, now get up over there. Alright, as long as we don't touch that shit, we should be good, in theory. Ooh, what's in there? Alright, some stuff, probably for crafting.
Right behind you.
Does that thing shoot at me? I feel like the kind of thing that would shoot arrows at me, you know? What are you?
What in the name of Aorta is that?
I do not want to.
Alright, though. Time to move on. Now, for the Baldur's Gate 3 settings. Alright, and I think that's about that. Let's get into the game. Here we go. Let's just run around town a little bit here. Yeah, but I always come here to do the benchmarks on this game because it's one of the harder places to run. There's so many NPCs walking around, especially if that setting where they all do their own thing. No, I don't mean that. I think that's literally. I don't think every single one does that thing, their own thing. Like, that's different every time. I think they're still set on their own path, because I swear everybody did the same thing when I went to the next computer. Although, maybe it's because it's the same game save, and they're pre-programmed to do that right there. But then if I made a completely new game with a new character, then they would all do something different, you know? Who knows? So, I guess with that, we shall move on. Alright, here's the settings we're going to go with. Now, I'm going to just say this is probably too much for it. I don't think it's going to stay at a constant 60. But hopefully it'll at least stay like 50 plus. But we shall see. Because we're not using frame gen. But we are using DLSS. I believe on performance. But anyway, let's get ourselves into the game. Alright, here we go. Now I picked this because even though it's the beginning of the game, it had lots of frame drops and whatnot on the other systems, like well under 60. Even this one's doing it. But so far, half of that might have been because of recording. But if it drops too much under 56 or something, I start going, I don't know if it's doing that because of that or if that's just too much for it, you know? Yeah, it's doing a pretty damn good job, though. Plus, I like fighting on the cloud. And we get to take Nimbus. It's awesome. Alright, I'm gonna probably just skip through this dialogue, because if I go and let them talk, it'll be like 7 minutes just for this game, and we can't afford that. I might go a little over on a couple here and there, but I can't go no 7 minutes or whatever.
还有刚刚那条黑的，留下点儿，一起上吧。
老天一再给你机会，你这么大。
See, it's so cool watching the clouds and stuff. Now, the only problem is, as good as DLSS is, it can't even keep up, so you get artifacts around you. That's why I wish you could play the game without it. I think that's the only way you can stop that. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm not paying attention to any of that while I'm trying to fight somebody. I'm trying not to die. Although I'm pretty sure you can't even die during this fight. Well, of course, the age-old question, can it win Crysis? Well, we're gonna find out. To be perfectly honest, we probably didn't even need DLSS, but I couldn't remember how frickin' hard this game was to run, so I left it on. But let's go see how it does. Here we are in the game. So, I mean, we're getting like 180 FPS. We could probably have turned DLSS off and still get like 120, 130. But whatever. It's not a huge deal to turn it on. Hell, some people just always turn it on just to get extra frames and just leave it on quality. I mean, a lot of DLSS 4 stuff, the frickin' even performance looks frickin' awesome. Oh, no wonder. I'm hitting a shift, not C. But we got through it, so it's all good. Nah, I'm just gonna, like, run through it. I don't need to melee that. You just run through it. It's whatever. But we do want to attach that silencer. Ooh, well, hello. Oh, I don't think I got it. Nope. Alright, now we did. Mouse is still a little bit wonky in the sensitivity. I should have messed with it a little bit more. Oh well. It's not like this is a competition or something. I just don't want to die. Dying in games is no fun, but I still do quite a bit in games. I was going to say every once in a while, but that's a bullface lie. I die a lot in games. But it's all good. I still have fun. And the second I get too mad, I'll just like, oh yeah, I'll just play a different game for a little while. Instead of like breaking my keyboard in half or throwing my expensive controllers around. Fuck that. One of the cool things about this game is it had great physics. Yeah, they left that in. I figured they wouldn't have taken that out. That would have been really stupid and really lame. Anyway, time to move on. Now, this is another game where I think I went a little overboard with the settings, but I wanted to push these systems, so that's why I went with what I went with. These are not necessarily the settings I would go with to play, but that's what we're doing here. We'll put it up to 20. That's not going to mess with performance, and even if I do forget to do that on other computers, but that's usually where it seems to be pretty good. But that's just a personal preference. Some people say way more than that. Some people say, I don't want any sharpening at all. But anyway, let's go see what it does. Well now, here we are in the game. I saw it drop down to 40, but that was probably just me starting the recording. A lot of times when I do that, I'll get a big old frame time spike and a big old drop in FPS. But let's see what it does. So far, we're staying in the 60s. If it drops down to like 58, all the way down to maybe 56, I'm willing to say, hey, maybe recording was doing that. But anything more than that, it's probably going to drop into 60 whether you're recording or not. But so far, it's doing a pretty damn good job. But I could have sworn there's some spots where it still dropped down to like 48 or something like that. But maybe I'm thinking of something else. I do so many videos, it's hard to remember them all. Especially today with this one. I had to do so many freaking different little tiny tests, jumping around from game to game. Man, this game looks so good. And that's why I don't like excuse other games. Now, this game did come out in a pretty terrible state, but now it's pretty damn good. And then I see how it looks, and then I go see how some of these other games that run worse than it look, and I'm like, all right, this is a big open world city with lots of NPCs running around, and like, you can do all this ray tracing stuff now, and yes, we do have it down to 1080p in the background, but the fact that it can do all this path tracing and still give us pretty damn playable FPS, that's pretty awesome. I remember I needed like frame gen on my 3090 to get FPS like this. Well, a little bit more than this, but they weren't real, so who cares? Anyway, let's move on. All right. Obviously, this is not the best game in the world, but figured I would still include it for those who do like it. All right, and with that, it's game time. Well, now, here we are in the game. Let's go see how it runs. Yeah. You might be able to, if you just turn some ray tracing stuff down, you'd probably be able to get 60 plus most of the time. But why not just turn on some DLSS? Half the time it makes games look better because like a bunch of games have terrible TAA implementations. Now there are some games that have decent TAA. And then with that, sometimes it can even look worse if you go to DLSS. But that is not very often. Especially not with like stuff with that Transformer model and frickin' DLSS 4 and that shit all looks pretty damn fantastic. We all carry the blame. That's the best thing to do.
I destroyed the statue.
In a group environment. Be like, yeah, we all did something stupid, and they all did if I remember what happened. Like every single person made a bad decision. Or what could be perceived as a bad decision, I guess, to others. Let's go with that. And that one got like decked in the face or something like that. I can't remember what happened. But they got a pretty good old black eye. But I guess they can just walk around and say, I ran into a door.
He knew what it might cost. We're still standing. The fight's not over.
You know, I like that about you, Lace. You don't stop fighting. You push for answers and action, while I can get stuck on questions forever.
Well, we need someone who can put the pieces of the puzzle together. We're fighting the unknown.
Exactly. Everyone has a part to play. Varric brought us together because of our strengths. He wanted a team he could rely on. We have to be that team.
Enough. It is time for the next game. Alright, so here's the settings we're going to go with. Now, I haven't played this game in quite a while, so I'm hoping that all the updates made it a lot more playable. Because I remember right where I am, and I saved. Unless it's saved somewhere else. I was having trouble staying above 60 on some of my computers. I don't know about this particular one. Or if I even had this one built. Obviously not this particular computer, but, you know, the one with this 4090 in it. Here we are in the game. And yeah, if I remember correctly, I was definitely not anywhere near 90, 100 FPS here.
Dreadful sorry if I was in your way.
I feel like it was like 70 and then lots of dips to like 58, 59 kind of stuff.
You needn't worry yourself on my account.
But this is not one of the bigger cities. This is more like a little town. If we went to a huge city, we'd probably drop under 60. That's where a lot of the problems were. I wished I got further in the game, but I didn't want to get too far in this game because I haven't even beaten the first game yet. So I want to go do that first. But then in classic fashion, a bunch of other games I want to play come out, and then it gets put on the back burner, and then half the time I don't ever play the game. So same thing with the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I want to play the first one first. I don't even know if they have anything to do with each other. It just seems like the right thing to do. But that one too got put on the back burner. But now that I got this computer built, and I'm pretty freaking far ahead with my videos, I might just take some days off of making videos and play some games. Most of the time I just play games at night when I'm done making videos for you guys. I don't just play all day long. Well, except for when I had the flu. Then I pretty much just laid in bed and I used the hell out of that small form factor PC. And my Steam Deck and Ally, that's for sure. I basically just stayed in bed, and then when I felt nice enough, I came out to my couch and played some of that Yakuza pirate game. That was fun. But yeah, this game is running a lot better than before. A lot less frame time spikes. Little decent uptick to FPS in general, it seems.
This might be worth a read.
A thorough perusal might reveal aught of interest.
All right, though, what do you say we go ahead and move on to the next game? Dying Light 2 settings here. And I think this is another one that dropped under 60 here and there. But again, this has had a lot of updates too. All right, though, why don't we go ahead and hop into the game? Well, now here we are in the game, so let's just run around and see if this is one of those ones where it's dropping under 60. Judging by the FPS we're getting now, I'm starting to, like, second guess myself and be like, okay, I don't think we dropped under 60 on this thing. But I did so many different freaking games today.
Sometimes I wake up at night and forget the fall even happened. That's about the only time I smile. But then I see the goddamn UV lights. How you doing?
Yeah, this game seems to actually run really good. Well, let's speak properly. This game runs really well. All right, let's go up here. How do you jump in this game, actually, with a controller? I played this with keyboard and mouse, so I don't even know what the hell I'm doing with this controller. Oh, okay, it's that button. That's definitely feels a little wonky, but okay. All right. Now, a lot of people would be like, why are you even including Elden Ring in this? This game's easy as hell to run. But not when you turn ray tracing on, especially to maximum. It definitely can get to parts with my 4090s we're dropping into the 40s and whatnot. I think in this area too, which is why I saved in this area. So let's go hop in and let's see how it does. All right, here we are in the game. Now, a lot of people would also wonder, like, hey, so there you go. Look at that. Drop down in the 40s already right there. Into the 50s, 55s. But the people are probably wondering, why didn't you unlock the FPS? And only reason I didn't is I'm scared I'm going to get banned because it's got that thing that starts up in the beginning. You know, the anti-cheat thing. And I'm worried that's going to detect that as a cheat. I already got banned from freaking PUBG for what seems like no reason. And the only thing I can think of is I played on too many of my computers and they think I'm, like, sharing my game or something. Or it was when I was testing out the Ally, I set up controls on it to mimic mouse and keyboard, and it might have seen that as some kind of bad thing. Who knows? But those are the only two things I can think of, because I definitely am not going to cheat. I don't see the point. You fucking have, like, nothing to show for it then. You're not better than anybody, and it just takes all the fun out of it. So why the hell would you do that? Especially on an online-ish game, even though I never really do the online aspect of it. I didn't really like people coming into my game and killing me, so I'd always just play offline. So maybe if I just played offline, it wouldn't have mattered, but still. Now, when it's not sitting there dropping under 60 FPS, we seem to get pretty good smooth frame times, since all we need is 60 FPS. But there's certain spots it still drops. All right. So now for Far Cry New Dawn settings here. At first, I wasn't getting my Afterburner thing, but then luckily I remembered, hey, you can add stuff to the MSI, or not MSI, it's technically, I think Riva Tuner, Statistics Tuner, or server or something like that. You can add games to that, and usually that will let you add, or have your little frame time thing up there in the top. So now here we go, in the game, and we get pretty decent FPS. Albeit with a random frame time skip, which could be just due to recording. I was thinking about doing the whole thing camera so I wouldn't interfere with the game's FPS, but then I was like, nah, that would look really unprofessional. I don't really want to do like almost 40 games, you know, all camera. most of the time, things on this kind of a system get more than enough FPS to where it doesn't even matter. But at least on this system, Afterburner shouldn't be fucking with us. It just seems to hate AMD CPUs for whatever reason. Wish somebody would figure that out. But for now, on the main PC, I just don't use it when I'm actually gaming on it. I just completely close it, and I just use GPU Tweak 3. Which is not the best kind of software I've ever seen, but I'll take the not best software I've ever seen that doesn't make my computer stutter in video games. I mean, obviously games that are stutterfests are still going to be stutterfests, but actually, from what I remember, a lot of the games that were like that ran way better on that 9800X 3D. They weren't stutter-free by any means, but they sure did seem to run a little bit better than the 14900KF or 14900K. Anywho, time to move along. Alright, here we go. Here's the settings we're going to go with. Now, this game seems to just have lots of stutters on PC right now. Still nowhere near as bad as the original game, but they're still there. But I'm sure there's ways to get rid of most of them, if not all of them. Alright, here we go. And we definitely still have some stutters here and there, but still. I'd rather deal with a stutter every now and again and have a game that looks like this. This even blows the PS5 Pro out of the water. Hey, speaking of water, there's some now. Can I, like, jump into it, or will I die? I can't remember what games I can swim in or not. Ooh, wow, there was a bunch of stutter. But I bet you there's mods and whatnot you can use to, like, smooth things out. I had to do that a little bit with Final Fantasy, what was it, 16, I think? Yeah. Because that game was, like, almost borderline unplayable. But luckily, the modding community fixed, like, 90% of the bad performance. So, I was able to play no problem. And it was a pretty fun Final Fantasy. I liked it more than 15. But a lot of people would probably disagree with me and think 15 is way better, and that's totally okay. I don't know why. I guess I couldn't get into the characters. It just felt like the prince and his, like, band of people were all just, like, in a boy band or something. I don't know. That's just me. Definitely had some badass moves and combat and stuff. That was at least fun. And the story was alright. Not the best, not the worst. Ouch. Yeah, sorry, I'm playing so many different games, and I can't remember what the hell to do in most of them. Most of the time when I play a game, I can't pick one and play just the one. Or maybe two. I like to have a backup in case I get pissed at a game. But it's been a while since I played this one, so I don't even remember what the hell I'm doing. So if I die, it's whatever. Or if I can't kill these things, that might happen too. But I'm going to try to kill him. This is just going to go on a little longer in some of the other scenes. This is actually more along the lines of what I was going to make them, and then I did some quick math, unless I did the maths wrong. It was going to be like an hour and like 2 hours and some change, and I was like, okay, nope, I don't want to do that. Here we go with some Forza Horizon 5. Before I started playing, I looked at my gameplay time for this game. It's at 1,586 hours. I played the heck out of this game, and I played 4 way more, so I can only imagine what that one was. I should have looked at that too, just for fun. Anyway, though, those are the settings we're going to go with, so now let's go and drive around a little bit. Alright, here we are in the game. Now, I am not used to driving in this particular mode, so I'm probably going to drive like shit. But it's all good. We're more testing for stutters and frame time drops and all that shit. Wait, I could have sworn I did not have VSync on. Oh, I see what I did. Frame rate cap. I just got to turn that to variable, I think. There we go. Unlocked variable. Okay, there we go. Now we're in business. I think I messed up the same exact thing on the main PC, thinking, well, at least I'll remember that. I didn't remember that. But yeah, seems really smooth on this computer. In fact, I'd say this one actually had less stutters. I think the 5800X 3D was getting more stutters, probably due to Afterburner would be my guess, but can't say that for 100% sure. It could just be the game not liking that CPU. But I would probably play this game on, well, I don't know. I'd play it on both of them. It'd probably actually be easier to put my racing wheels little setup right in front of this computer, or in front of the other main computer, than it would be for me to do it on the TV PC, but I could still probably make it work. I just have to move my coffee table, and I don't want to keep doing that. That's annoying. Been doing so many of these already. I need a frickin' drink.
In 400 yards, turn right.
And you know what? Why not?
Turn right.
Alright though, let us go and move on. Here are the settings for Ghost of Tsushima. I didn't think we really needed upscaling for this, so I just went with DLAA. I only went with that on system on games that I thought were too hard for it to run natively. But if a game can give you like 80 to 120 FPS or something like that, I feel like you don't really need it. But hey, for those who want a little extra smoothness, why not turn it on too, right? Here we are in the game. This is one of those games that's pretty smooth. I think it has like a little stutter every now and again, but for the most part, it's pretty damn smooth. And still looks pretty dang good. Yeah, considering its age, I'd still say it's freaking pretty damn good. It might just look a tiny bit worse than Assassin's Creed Shadows. That game is maybe not the funnest game in the world, but it made most things look pretty damn badass. But this is not far behind, and considering its age, and I think this is a PS4 game, that's pretty badass. Impressive to me. But hey, that's just my opinion. Now, I'm still going to play Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's just kind of on the lower end of my stuff. Like, in the same category as Avowed and stuff like that. Games where I'm like, alright, this is alright, but not like the most fun in the world. And I don't know about you guys, but I play games for fun. If the game's not fun, I don't know. I'm not just going to play a game that's not fun, so. Well, that's not entirely true. I have a bad habit of playing games like that Gollum game and being like, oh, dude, like almost nobody's beaten this because it's such a pile of shit. I'm going to totally do it. I'm going to go beat it on the hardest difficulty just because like almost no one else did. Not even for achievements or anything, just for the fun of it. So, anyway, time to move on. Here's the settings. We're going to go for God of War Ragnarok. Again, didn't think, since this is like, I believe, another PS4 game, I did not think we needed upscaling's help. I figured it'd be just fine, but I like using the anti-aliasing from DLSS when and if I can. It just generally looks better than what the games usually do. Anyway, here we are in the game.
What is it?
Freyr's sword.
And yeah, we're getting like 130 FPS. We're fine.
Not quite. It couldn't be stolen. It had to be given freely. Freyr had it forged in his younger days.
But again, if you turned it on, you'd get a nice little boost. It'd probably be like 170 FPS or something like that. And then you'd still get the anti-aliasing benefit, because anytime you use that, it uses DLAA automatically. But that should be pretty obvious, but just for the people that didn't know.
As I was saying before about Valka, it's just that she'd like to retire.
Retire? Hell's Eagle wants to retire?
Indeed. And don't ask me what she expects to do with her free time. I assure you there is no reassuring answer.
Can she even do that? Not be hell?
Apparently so. She just requires relief.
But yeah, again, this is another example of a game that looks pretty damn good, but yeah, gets really good FPS and really good frame times. Not quite Crysis levels of graphics, obviously, but... And it doesn't have ray tracing, but sometimes ray tracing is not necessary in games. This is one of those games where I just don't think it would really add anything other than probably stutters and bad performance. So it's like, keep that shit away from this game, you know? So, now for GTA 5 Enhanced. And it's kind of cool they gave us this for free. Though I'd prefer that they would have also launched GTA 6 at the same time on PC as consoles, but hopefully it'll be another GTA 5 situation where consoles are, you know, alright, but I would much rather wait for the PC version, you know? Here we are in game. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still probably gonna get GTA 6 for my PS5 Pro, just to test it out. I feel like that thing at least will do better than the PS3 did. PS3 running frickin' GTA 5 and the 360 that my friend had both ran like garbage. Although I'd say the 360 ran a little bit better, but they both still ran and looked like dog shit. And I was sitting, and both of us sat here and thought, dude, they just made this as a cash grab. Like on the next gen consoles, it was alright. But GTA 5, after experiencing it on the PS3 and then playing it on PC for the first time, I was like, oh my god, this is like a different game. Now, I do actually believe the consoles had this kind of stuff way before us this time around. But they couldn't go quite this high on the graphics and ray tracing and whatnot, while still getting like 100 FPS. Okay, wow, that van was sunken into the world there a little bit. But he popped out of there, so it's all good. And we're not going to sit here and pretend that GTA has ever been flawless with its physics and all that anyway. Though I'm not going to lie, I didn't see stuff like that happening too much with the older version. So, could just be new version jitters. I think this has only been out a little bit, like a couple months or something. Unless I'm really late to the party. At least on PC anyway. But it looks pretty nice. Definitely looks like a nice little visual upgrade. It's not a night and day difference by any means. Alright, here we go. This is one of those games that never really ran that great on PC. At least with ray tracing turned on. You could get it pretty stutter free without ray tracing, but anytime you turn ray tracing on in this thing, it would just be a stutter fest. Although I think the 9800X 3D handles it pretty decently, but even it has its parts where it's got big stutters. Just not as bad as this one, but you guys could be the judge of that. But anyway, let's go hop in and let's go see. Alright, let's start out in that room that everybody likes to take screenshots of, because it does look pretty nice in here with the freaking sparkling floors and all the freaking candles floating and what have you. Definitely a good place to test out the ray tracing, but now let's run around a little bit more of Hogwarts here. I'm going to try to stay on the same path when I do the other computer, but I can't promise anything. This place is huge and can be confusing at times. So I might have done some things differently, but we shall see. Yeah, see, it still has some stutters here and there. Even on a system like this. But the graphics are pretty insane with the ray tracing, I'm not going to lie. So I can see why some people would deal with the extra stutters just to have it look like this, but I'm pretty sure when I played, I just turned the ray tracing off and got like 120 FPS most of the time, and minimal stutters. They're still there a little bit. It's a lot, you can't really get rid of them completely, it seems. Unless you play on like PS5 or something. That one, usually you're going to be smoother, but graphics won't be as good, and frame rate usually isn't as good, so you got to pick your battles. Do you want to deal with some stutter and have way better graphics and whatnot? Like, see, this kind of stuff's like almost unacceptable to me. I don't like that. Dropping down to 38. Now, some of it's because we're recording, but still, though, this does look like a pretty good use of ray tracing. That's why it's such a shame that it runs like such garbage. But now we move on. So, alright, we've got ourselves another title here where we don't really need upscaling's help, so I'm just going to take its anti-aliasing. Because this game gets pretty good performance without it. It has a stutter every now and again, but for the most part, it's pretty damn smooth. Anyway, though, why don't we go hop on in and see? Alright, now here we go. We'll just run around, get ourselves a little bit of gameplay here. And I think eventually here we'll probably hop on that, our little flying creature. I just have to not get killed by those things. Because, yet again, I'm playing so many different games, and I played this one so long ago, I do not, for the life of me, remember what the hell to do in this game. All I know is, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, you, like, attack the joints of the dinosaurs and stuff. And then eventually you can, like, get them weak enough to go up with your spear and really fuck them up. But I could be misremembering this for another game, of course. So I'd rather just not get in any fights in this. This is more of just a chill, go around, kind of just test FPS kind of game right now. But it sure does look nice. And again, it doesn't have like ray tracing or anything, so it just goes to prove you don't need ray tracing to have a game to look good. And in fact, all that would probably do is make more stutters and whatnot. That's usually what ray tracing tends to do a lot of the time, whether people want to admit it or not. Because most people don't have 4090s, 5090s, and all that crap. They got like more mid-range to high-end stuff, not crazy-ass enthusiast shit. Me, I like this stuff, but at least realist. I know most people don't have systems like this. And that's probably why most of those systems don't do that well. So that's why I'm not expecting to get that many views on this video, but I do these for fun. I don't really even care about views that much. Wow, that's a pretty nice place to stop, I think. Alright, so, if I remember correctly from when I tested this game, I'm pretty sure that it can handle DLSS quality and having everything be on experimental. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it can handle it, at least in the areas I tested, at 60. Obviously, I can go through the whole game, so I can't say, oh yeah, it'll get you 60 plus the whole time, but all the spots I was at did, anyway. Oh, cool. We left off where that one guy wanted me to test for the Azushi 15 Vanish, and this is actually a really nice spot to test, so I'm actually alright with this.
Skip to the nearest tavern. We'll drink to our success and chase some local wenches, eh? But why didn't Uncle Hanush take care of it?
I actually say this one probably won in frame times too. I think the other new main PC had more stutters when I was recording this one. But that could have been MSI Afterburner's fault. So anytime we see them, it could be that, but I don't want to always just blame that. Some games just don't like AMD or VD3 cache and all that shit, and some just don't like AMD CPUs at all. And they're just like, nope, you have an Intel? Alright, I'm going to be smoother. But then there's other games where it's like, oh wow, this frickin' 7800 or 9800 XTD is just killing this frickin' Intel chip. So that's why I'm glad to have both. If one doesn't run so great on one PC, I can always just hop on to another. And then, of course, that's more content for you guys instead of just always just doing the same computer over and over and over again. That would get boring. That's why I'm also glad that I built some new ones here, just to change stuff up a little. But we still got some of the oldies and goodies, like the Steam Decks and the secondary computer. Those are all unchanged. But I definitely plan to get that new Ally that they're talking about making with that Z2 Extreme. And I definitely want that Intel AI Claw, MSI Claw too, just to have one of those on the channel. And there was this 1X player that was like almost 11 inches. Well, alright, I already know from testing this game I'm going way too far with these graphics settings. It's not going to hit 60 all the time. But we're going to do it anyway, just because it looks really good like this. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to push these systems as far as they can go. These are definitely not what I would necessarily recommend going with, but hey, not everybody even cares about 60 FPS. For a lot of people, just as long as the game can stay over 30 or around 40, they're happy and they don't give a shit. Alright, here we are in the game. And I already saw a drop to 55. But yeah, down to 35, ouch. Alright, how do you, okay. Took me a second. I haven't even played this one yet, and it's been a while since I beat the other two Spider-Man games, so please bear with me while I remember how the hell to play and even web sling around the city. Now, it's getting around 50 FPS, so if we weren't recording, it might stay right around 60 most of the time, but there's definitely going to be points where it drops down. Like 54, I don't think we're using that much from whatchamacallit, but damn, that ray tracing looks good. Alright, there we go. I was like, how do you run again? Okay, this building is way taller than I thought. Yep. Looks great, doesn't really perform the best. Not with these settings, but obviously you could just tone some stuff down, and it could still look like 90% of how good as it does now, only with getting playable FPS. Well, what I consider playable. Like I said, not everybody gives a shit about 60 plus. Some people would be happy if it looked like this and it was just locked to 30 and never dropped a single frame. Or locked to 40 or what have you, and never dropped a single frame. Anyway though, time to move on, people. Well, now for Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition. Yeah, a lot of people did not like when I called it Exodius. But I still thought it was funny. Anyway, though, here's the settings we're going to go with. So, with that, let's go hop on into the game and we'll see how it can do. Alright, here we are in the game. And this game gets pretty good FPS, but if I remember correctly, it had like a stutter problem. Not like a horrible one, but it would just have like some stutters here and there. So, I guess let's see how it does. Nope, see, like I said, there's some of them now. Not the worst thing in the world, but definitely not an enjoyable experience if it happens too much. I don't give a shit about them every once in a while like that, but if it's like, I go 5 inches, up, stutter, 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 up, stutter, stutter, stutter. Like the way Silent Hill was when it first came out, that was pretty unacceptable. That thing was an absolute stutter fest. They seem like they fixed a lot of it. It's still hard to run. I think even this computer couldn't handle it and stay above 60. With DLSS's help. Again, we had everything like ray tracing and all that nonsense on, so if you just turned that off, it'd probably be fine, but like I said, we're pushing them further than I normally would. Hell yeah, got ourselves a magazine. That's much cooler than just throwing one bullet in over and over again. Well, here we go with another game that does not run the best when you max it out, but we're going to do it anyway. Just to see what this kind of system can do. I'm pretty sure we have the high-res texture pack enabled. But you'll have to go and read the freaking settings. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have possibly gone past it. Anyway, let's hop into the game and let's see how this system does. Well, here we are in town, which is one of the harder places to stay above 60. Nah, I'll drop down to 49, 51, there's no way. Shadowplay's not taking that much up, so this one can't quite handle it all maxed out, even with DLSS's help. Now, they really want you to use frames in this game, but I just don't like using that. It's alright with a controller, but I still didn't like it in this game. Alright, how did you call that creature? Okay, there we go. I figured it out. Alright, now how? Oh, nope, that's definitely not what I wanted to do. Come back over here. Oh, am I gonna die? Nope, okay. As long as we tumble, we're fine. Alright, hopefully that thing can come down here quick. I don't want to fight that thing. Not right now. I just wanted to run around a little bit. Now see, there's lots of places that can stay above 60 still, but there's definitely going to be some spots where it doesn't. If you play with settings like this. Now, it does look a lot better like this than it did before, that's for sure. Still not the most impressive graphically, but it definitely looks a hell of a lot better like this. But I'm pretty sure the 5090 PC stays above 60 mostly. I think even in town, though, even that one drops. But we shall see when we get to that system. I was going to put both of the videos into one, but if I did that, I think the thing would be like 3 hours, and I don't want to do that, so reluctantly I split it up into 2 videos. Anyway, let's go hop on over here real quick. We'll go and stop where we kind of stopped on our other benchmark runs, right about here. All right, here's the settings we're going to go with. Now, normally I don't use the advanced settings in these games, but this time I figured, screw it, let's turn those things up, just to see what it can do. And I don't think we really need DLSS. Maybe it's a mistake using it. And there we go, that's the bottom. So, why don't we go ahead and go run around for a little bit. Alright, here we are in the game. And yeah, at least out here, we're still getting really playable FPS. Hey, a rainbow. Now, where's that leprechaun? Anyway, let's go run into town real quick. I think we're pretty close if this is the save I remember. I believe we should be pretty close to, what is it, St. Denis? Oh, okay, he actually can go through that this time. Usually they don't like doing that, but okay. Works for me. Oh, almost ran over a rabbit. Whoa, that was a weird graphical glitch. Still, besides that, the game looks pretty damn good for its age. Definitely not perfect. It's showing its age in some areas, but this thing still looks really fucking good. And yeah, we're still getting like 80 FPS, although we do have a really expensive computer here. But even if we didn't, we could use DLSS to help us out. Although this game is a little CPU happy with all the NPCs in areas like this, so there could be, I guess, with weaker systems and weaker CPUs, you might run into some CPU bottlenecks, but I doubt it. This game's pretty old. So unless you have a really old system, like with a really old CPU, you should be fine to stay above 60 at least. But it's getting exactly a kind of FPS I like for a game like this. Oops. Almost took that guy's horse's head off. I could see him being a little cross. Alright, so this time around I'm going to put things up on Ultra. Back when I tested this game out the first time, it had like a big warning on like the homepage, like don't use Ultra, half the settings are broken, it'll look like shit and run like shit and blah blah blah. So I just tested all the games with a maximum of 5. But if I remember correctly, even though the game looks like a PS3 game in some instances, it still can be hard to run, so that's why we're still using a little help from the DLSS. Alright, here we are in game. Yeah, Ultra definitely improved a little bit. But there's still lots of things that just don't look too graphically impressive about it. But then again, still not the worst game in the world either, as far as graphics go. Just, I don't think they look anywhere near good enough for how it runs. Like, with DLSS's help, we should be at like 120 to 130 FPS right now, instead of right around 100. But hey, it's still more than playable. This is the exact FPS I like anyway, so it's not like I'd have been mad. But still, even though it doesn't have like the best graphics known to man, I still had fun with the game. Anyway, time to move on. Stalker 2. Here are the settings we will go with. Okay. Must turn that off somewhere else. There it is. So I don't want motion blur. Alright, we're going to use DLSS for sure. Remember, this game's a little hard to run. Or at least when you max it all out. Alright, here we are in the game. Alright, let's see here. Now, normally I'd go around, but I'm just going to try traipsing through this. Now, luckily I'm not being irradiated to death yet, but if you try doing shit like that out in the other world, you're going to die real quick. Too much radiation. Heck, and in some parts it's just too deep and you just like sink and die. That's no fun either. That'd be a terrible way to go. Still not as terrifying as freaking Metro. You fall into that water and it's like you get sucked up and like just drown and go to the bottom, and then it's like, oh, never mind, now reload. It's like, oh, cool. Medkit, very useful. I use a great plentiful amount of these. Yes, yes. Alright, now I could just shoot those out, but that would waste bullets, and you don't want to do that. So let's change over to this. Although I think it said I could have just hit V, but half the time I never pay attention to what games say when I'm making these videos for you guys. If I want to play for real, I do, because I got time. I can sit there. If I need 20 minutes to go and get something, the hang of something, I'll do it. But I don't want to sit there and stare at a wall for 20 minutes in a video for you guys. That's not going to be very fun. Ooh, canned food. Don't mind if I do. Alright, now we need our gun. I don't think we can cut through that. No. Makes sense. Oh, there we go. Alright though, alright, and of course, we've got to include Schedule 1. I know it's an easy game to run, but I just wanted to include it because it's fun. And sometimes fun is more important than graphics, at least in my opinion. But hey, let's hop into the game just for fun and play for a little bit. Here we are in the game. Man, I got a lot of work to do. I gotta go redo all those, man. But whatever, I don't want to bore you guys just staring at that stuff. So, if mine does have big stutters and whatnot, it might have something to do with the fact that I've put like half a city's worth of trash in the ocean instead of like recycling it. It just got really, really tiring to like walk to those incinerators and whatnot. And it's not like the money incentive is good. It's like they give you like $10. I've got like, shit. I think I got like, what? Yeah, $33,000 in the bank and $4 grand on me. Don't need an extra $10. Not very enticing. Alright. No, don't have any messages? Alright, just making sure. Alright, how did I make this go away again? Oh yeah, it was T. Let's go offer drugs to this person. Let's see. Let's give you one of these. Well, that's a pretty high rate of success. And alright, and with that, we move on. So, Senua Saga, Hellblade 2 settings here. Alright, we'll turn that off. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, so when I do these kind of videos, I tend to usually turn it off. But anyway, let's go see how it plays. So here we go. And at least thanks to DLSS's help, we're able to stay over 60, I do believe, the whole time. Now, maybe there's certain places in the game where you don't, but at least here you do. And it gets pretty decent frame times and all that, too. But when I remember playing this game, and, well, if you can call it that, it's almost, if everyone wants to call, what was that, Death Stranding a walking simulator, this is the true walking simulator. You basically walk around. Every once in a while, there will be a battle or two where you have to hit, like, 2 buttons, like dodge and then attack. And then that's that. And every once in a while, you'll get to go do a really easy puzzle. And that's about that. Other than that, you're just walking. And that's about that. At least in the Death Stranding one, you gotta, like, deliver packages and stuff. That one, you're a delivery man. This one's a walking simulator. But I always saw this game as more of a, hey, look at what our tech can do kind of game. This is like a glorified tech demo. Now, the other version of this game, the old version, actually had, you know, more character to it. And still pretty decent graphics, too.
You need to climb again. She will fall if she does. She will die. Climb, Senua. Climb, climb.
But can't deny it. Definitely looks real good.
So tired.
And that's what they were going for.
She's going to fall. No. Careful, Senua. Climb. Come on. Don't listen. Don't listen to me. Listen to your mind. Coward. Why have we come here? Stupid. Come on, climb. She's too exhausted. Too exhausted. It's too much. Don't look down.
All right. And now we move on along. All right, now when this game first came out, it was a stutter fest and ran like you could not get 60 unless you like turned settings down and did like DLSS, either balanced or performance. So I'm gonna try quality this time around and see if we can at least stay somewhat close to 60. I'm still not expecting a 60 plus experience, but we're still gonna try it out anyway. And besides, we're supposed to be pushing these systems to their limits anyway, so I can't think of any way better than doing that than turning ray tracing on, even though I generally, in most games, don't turn it on. But now we can have a quick look here in the advanced settings, and then after we have a quick look in here, I think it's about game time. All right, here we are in the game, starting out at 70 FPS. All right, at 60 on the dot. Okay, if it wasn't for that drop down to 54 for a second there, I'd say we could probably still stay above 60 if we weren't recording. Just barely. But who's to say this isn't a easy to run spot? There's probably way harder spots to run further in the game. But as far as frame times go, they at least seem to have improved that quite a bit. Although if I remember, I think this is another game where this one is slightly smoother in the frame time department than the 58 or the 9800X 3D. I think that has more stutters. But it's probably just afterburner sucking. But like I said probably about 1 billion times in this video already, I don't have anything better. I would if I could. I thought I had FPS monitor, which I thought was pretty nice, but it only scales to the in-game resolution. There doesn't seem to be a way to make it bigger so people can see it easier. Heck, this one actually almost seems like I should make it bigger. Because I'm trying to make it so people on tablets and phones and stuff can see it. I have no problem seeing it on my phone, but not everybody has some 6-inch frickin' giant-ass phone with, like, better than 20/20 vision, so. But yeah, definitely seems to be a little bit improved. Anyway, why don't we go ahead and move on to the next game. All right, now this game, when it first came out, was a complete stutter fest. But it's had a lot of updates since it came out too, so I figured we'd include it in here just to see how it does. There we go. We went up and down, so hopefully that was long enough to see all the settings. So, to the game. All right, well, here we are in the game. And it definitely still seems to have its small frame time stutters here and there, but definitely seems a lot better than it was. But also can't seem to stay above 60 the whole time, at least while recording. But I have a feeling there's places that are harder to run than this, where you'd probably drop well under 60. Well, I'll be curious to see how the 9800X3 handles this. You'd think it'd probably get even smoother, but in some of these games I've been testing, this thing still wins in smoothness. But that's why I'm very glad to be able to have both. Alright, let's just run around a little bit more here. Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem to have as bad frame time skips anymore. I'm glad they sort of fixed it. So now for the newer Star Wars game. Figured we include that too, even though, again, that one's not very popular either. But I just picked games that I thought would be somewhat hard to run, whether they were just not very well optimized or what have you, or just really hard to run in general. So here we are. That's why I also included, what was that one? Jedi Survivor. That one had huge stutter problems, even though it didn't look like the greatest game in the world. But they seem to have fixed it quite a bit. Still has a stutter every now and again. but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. This one I can't remember if it had lots of stutters or not. If I remember correctly, this one was pretty decent, at least in this city. But let's go find out. Well, now here we go in the game. So let's just run around. I remember I liked running around collecting these things. But we're gonna make him fetch this one.
Nice job, Nix.
This is tough. I came here.
Oh, if there was something to pick up there, I thought so.
Come here.
Nah, we don't want to talk to them.
You wouldn't believe the junk they just throw away. I found 2 perfectly good converters in the alley.
Oh, sorry, Misty. Hold on. As soon as I'm done with this recording, I'll get you some more treats. Yeah, this one doesn't seem to run that bad as far as frame time stutters, but maybe later on in the game it gets worse. But if I remember correctly, this game didn't really run that bad in the frame time department. Everybody was just disappointed, like, man, it doesn't really look that great. Why does it only get blank amount of FPS? Like, I'd expect a game that looks like this to get like 130 FPS on this thing without DLSS's help. But that's just me. But at least there's a way to get playable FPS. This is about what I like in a game anyway, so the fact that I can just plop on some DLSS and get the exact FPS I like, that's okay with me. Again, though, still wish the game looked a little bit better, but at least it's not the worst looking game in the world. Alright, now here we go. We're going to go ahead and go with these settings for Starfield. Now, Starfield seems to just have like a big stutter problem, or at least it used to. Maybe they fixed it. It's been a while since I tested this one too, but I have a feeling they probably did not, and it's probably still going to not run the best. But hey, let's at least try to stay a little positive, and let's hop in, and let's go find out. Alright, here we go with Starfield, which, funny enough, I'd say it's probably the worst looking game besides one other game I'm testing here. But, yeah. And it only gets like 100 FPS, and I'm pretty sure we have DLSS helping it out. So without that, we'd probably drop an under 60 here and there. But, yeah, this game's never really been... Well, let's be honest, most Bethesda games stock are not exactly anything to write home about in the graphics department. You usually go and get mods and whatnot to completely revamp it and make it halfway decent. But to me, this game always kind of felt like they took the old engine they ran on all the other games like Fallout 4 and 3 and Skyrim and Oblivion even, and just was like, hey, so we've got this duct tape here, you know, we could totally duct tape this program together and make it work for the next game. But won't that piss people off having like tiny little loading screens all over the place? Nah, we're gonna do it anyway. But it'll look so dated compared to everybody else's games. Nah, just do it. It's like, okay. And then, yeah, it ended up being one of the worst received games they've made in quite some time. I mean, I still had a little bit of fun with it, but it didn't keep me around for too much longer after I beat it. But in any case, I think it's about time to move on to the next one. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves a little bit of gameplay here. But first, I figured we got to look at the settings, or people aren't going to know what the heck settings we're running with. So now let's go have a look at the graphics. Well, there we go. And with that, it's time to see how it runs. Well, all right, here we go. Now, actually, I think, like, as I was making this video, the second one, Remastered, came out. So I'm going to have to give that one a test. Again, that's another game that seems to be kind of controversial that a lot of people did not like, but still, doing my due diligence. I'm sure there's some people that want to know how it runs. And I did beat this one, so of course I do want to beat that one. but it sounds like I'm probably not going to enjoy it that much, but we'll see. Who knows? It might be one of those ones where everybody else hated it, but I was like, nah, this is all right. And that's okay, but doubtful.
My leg hurts.
How bad?
Pretty bad.
We're gonna need to run. God. Keep us safe. Come on, baby. Now hold on tight.
And this is another game that I don't think has any ray tracing, but they still did a great job with the lighting. So whether you love them or you hate them, you got to give these PlayStation games a win in the graphics department. A lot of them look really fucking nice. It just sucks that they make us wait so long to grab hold of them. But at least they usually, you know, make up for it by making it way cheaper than what PlayStation has to pay. Their users have to pay, you know? But I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty soon, day and date, basically. There still might be a couple games they never put on PC. Like, I don't see Gran Turismo ever going to PC. Could happen, but I don't really see it happening. Because I feel like most people would have, like, a plethora of other racing games they'd rather play. And it probably just wouldn't do that well. Though it would be nice to see what it would look like all maxed out. Alright, well, one thing I had to do here was I had to turn off a certain setting here. I believe it was Hairworks. No matter what I did, I could not get the game to, like, actually load in with that on. So, I did turn Hairworks off. So, other than that, though, everything else is precisely the same. But just want to do my due diligence and let you guys know. You know, here we go. Let's go run around a little bit. Now, this game was definitely known for having lots of, like, transversal stutter. Still seems to have a little tiny one there, but let's just run around a little bit more. Otherwise, how will we know? If we ran around for 2 seconds, we could go, oh yeah, it didn't stutter. All right, cool, it's totally buttery smooth now, and then move on. It's like, no, it's not. If you would have moved 10 inches that way, it would have stuttered like crazy. So let's, in fact, go into town. If I remember correctly, with all the NPCs walking around, that was one of the spots that was the most stuttery. No, there's some more of them right there. So they improved, but they're definitely still there. Although, if I remember correctly, the big, easy way to fix them is to just turn ray tracing off, but a lot of people want to play with that on, so they'll deal with the stutter here and there. I don't think the ray tracing part was as great as some other games, so I just turned it off when I played. Although I have not beaten this game yet. I only played a little bit.
Freak.
Oi, now.
No, seems to be pretty alright in town so far.
It's raining, it's pouring, and Rōnin is snoring. He bumped his head when he went to bed and wet himself till morning.
It's a goose. And now we move on along. All right, so here we go with Until Dawn. Now, I think I had issues with this that didn't happen when I did the actual whole video on my main PC on this game, but it seemed like it was really fucking dark compared to this computer. And it didn't do that the first time around, I don't think. I'd have to go back and watch the video, obviously. And it hasn't launched yet. It'll probably be like a couple months before it does. I'm quite far ahead on the desktops and stuff. Anyway, though, let's go see how this PC handles this game. All right, never mind. This one's pretty dark, too, but I think the other one was still a little too dark. I think that's just the way it's supposed to be, because it's like sundown. Oh, I was just about to say, it should be about time to get that pizza out of the oven. All right, there we go. Normally, I don't like to leave my post, as it were, but I feel like it probably would have gotten a little overcooked. Although it might have been fine for like a extra minute or whatever. I don't think it would have been that burnt, but it might have been blackened. I like my pizza a little black, but not like burnt, you know? That's no fun.
Hey, little fella. You hungry? Huh?
Alright, let's feed this squirrel, and then we'll move on. Warhammer 40K, Space Marine 2. Or I guess it's just 40,000 Space Marine, but whatever. Maybe there's a K in there, but it doesn't have that in the recording. Little title thing at the bottom there. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Why don't we hop into the game and let's see how it plays. Alright, let's get ourselves some gameplay. And Space Marine 2 here. Back when I remember trying this game out, it played great for me, but maybe that's just because I was playing it on a 4090 at the time. I think it was actually somewhat hard for the game to run on some weaker systems. At least when it first came out. Maybe a bunch of patches and stuff fixed all that. Who knows?
I'm moving to the crash site. Do you read? Any sign of the commander? Negative. No contact since the crash. I'm here, damn it. Killstress, you have command.
Well, you can't say the game doesn't use the CPU a lot. Holy crap.
Proceed as planned. Launch the virus bomb into the stratosphere. Detonate it. And watch the Tyranids die.
Haha, take that. You little bastards.
Transmitter must be broken. Homicans. The area will be cooling with them. Alpha, where's that damn virus bomb? I'm up to my elbows in these wretched pawns. Any word from Brother Darius or the commander? Nothing. It is left to us to share the glory now, Killstress. Hold on, brothers.
Alright, this game's like extremely fun, but... Oh wait. Yeah, we can play... Well, now we should probably not. Alright, so, here we go. Settings we're going to run for Watch Dogs Legion. Now this game had a huge stuttering problem, but let's see how my two pretty powerful PCs can run it. Sometimes these kinds of things can power through and give you almost no stutter. But sometimes even they're not powerful enough to go past bad programming, you know? Here we are in the game. Getting right around the FPS I like, so that's good. But how does the stuttering work? That's what I'm curious about. That was its bigger problem. Since again, I played this game on a 4090. So far, it's pretty damn smooth. Even if it does have a stutter here and there, it's definitely doing better than it was. There's a little one. Oh, there we go. That's more of the stutter I remember. Wonder what causes it. Alright, so it definitely still has a small stutter problem, but... Kinda figured. This is an older game. I did not think they were going to update it anymore, you know? But this thing still handles it better than some of the other computers I tested, that's for sure. But I mean, it does still have a top-of-the-line Intel and a freaking really powerful freaking second top of the line GPU, so you'd expect it to still run pretty good. Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for this video. I was gonna make both of them into the same video, but after seeing how long the video was gonna be, just as it is now, it looked like it was gonna be about 1 hour and 44 minutes. So I don't really wanna make a 2 hour and 40 minute video since I'm doing a carbon copy of the same games on the new main PC. So we'll just have to split it up. So lame, not what I was expecting to do, but still a fun video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.